I normally try to have a joke here at the intro, but this is take 6 because I screwed up every single one before that. So we're just gonna screw it. Just go for it. Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron.
I'm Michelle.
And it is very ironic that I screwed up so many takes on the episode in which we're talking about a found footage film where you have to record everything. So anyway, hey, I got it. I got us an intro. There we go.
Yes.
Anyway, this is Thorgiween, in which we are reviewing a horror film every single day, all month long. And this is the start of a brand new theme week. It is International Horror Week, in which we are reviewing a horror film from around the world every single day this week. And I don't want to sound like the ignorant American here, but I didn't realize what a big task that was going to be before I got to it. Did I mention that we did like 6 intros of this? My brain is fried. Yeah, I didn't realize quite how hefty of a task this was.
Yeah, just picking out only like 7 countries out of...
Because that was the thing, is I thought, okay, this is how it's going to be kind of easy. We're going to not do like, we're not going to repeat any country. Because, I mean, you get into like Japan and J-horror, that's an entire month that you could do right there of doing a different J-horror every single day. I was like, no, we're going to do a different country every single day. And I had in my mind a couple that I was like, yeah, those are the ones that I'm definitely going to do for that country, and then for that country, and that country, and that country. And oh man, there's a lot of countries around the world. How come my high school geography teacher never taught me about this? Yeah, there's a lot of countries out there that I was like, oh man, I kind of don't know which of these I want to cover. Oh, I gotta lower it down to just 7. Okay, well, I know that I'm definitely gonna do these countries, and from this country, I'm gonna do this one, or maybe that one. Or maybe that one, fuck, that's also from this country. Okay, wow, there's a lot of talented horror filmmakers out there. So yeah, I knew that there were a lot that I wanted to check out this week. I did not realize how many, but this was one that I definitely wanted to get to because it is one of my all-time favorite horror films of all time. Well, actually, the sequel is, but we can't go straight into the sequel. We were talking about Wreck.
Yes.
You've seen this with me before.
Yes, and it's funny, when you said we're going to watch Wreck, I thought the title was going to be W-R-E-C-K, like Wreck Things.
Oh, okay.
I didn't realize it was just R-E-C, which is short for recording.
I'm assuming that you've been this the first time I asked you to watch this, because you've definitely seen this with me before.
Yes.
Yes,
yes,
okay.
like the very long time ago
when you first saw it. Yes, okay, fair enough, yes. Because, yeah, it is an interesting title if you don't know what you're getting into. If you just hear somebody say Wreck, you do not assume R-E-C. But yes, this is considered one of the best found footage movies ever, and I might have to agree with them on that. I'll be honest with you, I like Wreck 2 more. But I realize it's like me and 5 other guys who share that opinion. Most people just go to this one. I know the second one was actually kind of divisive. But this film, it's considered so genius for the found footage genre because it, more than any other found footage film out there, answers the question that everybody always has about found footage. Why the hell are you still filming? This one answers that perfectly. And what's shocking to me is that this film uses a lot of not very established actors in there, because I discovered the main character, Angela, she plays a news reporter. Apparently, she was an actual news reporter, and they were like, we want somebody who feels genuine as a news reporter. So I guess they figured it'd be easier to teach a news reporter how to act rather than teaching an actor how to act like a news reporter. But the opening of this, they're going to a fire station, and there's only like 2 or 3 firemen in there who are actors. The rest of them are actual firefighters. And it's like, wow, that's actually really cool. And a lot of the other actors who you meet later on, they were like small-time actors, were not all that established. I really dig that. Then again, if you want found footage, you want that genuine feeling. Yeah,
it'd be kind of weird to have like a top name celebrity in a found footage.
Which I've seen them do that with a couple of found footages, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking? Why? Why are you doing that? But anywho, let's get into what this film is actually about. We are following our main character, Angela, who is a news reporter, but she's not doing the 6 o'clock news. She has a show called While You Were Asleep. in which she goes out there and spotlights people who have jobs in the middle of the night. And she is focusing on firefighters this evening. And it starts off, and it's her and her camera person, Pablo. And the two of them are going around just recording these firefighters, just showing them, showing us around the station. And like I said, a lot of the firefighters in there, they were not actors. And it's kind of cool when you realize that and you watch, because there's like a moment which they go up and they're interviewing like two ladies in there, and one of them just like, no, it's just like leaves. And it's just like, oh, okay, like that's an actual like person who was just like, I don't want to be in a movie. No, bye. I kind of dug that. But they're sitting there, and I dig that you, like, this film does something that I think all found footage films need to do. All found footage films need to learn this lesson. And I can only really think of like 3 or 4 found footages that actually obey this. And it's one of the reasons why I think found footage is such a great genre that gets screwed up constantly. The entire point of found footage is it needs to feel like found footage. It needs to feel like you stumbled across this tape and now you're watching it and you're seeing something that you shouldn't see. And because of that, it needs to feel like the raw, actual footage. It drives me insane when I see found footage films in which they're like, we gave 8 people a camera, and a lot of them are cameras attached to their glasses or onto their ears. And
yeah, that's not found footage. That's just a regular movie that's just shot very shittily. That's like home movie kind of thing.
That's not even that. A home movie is still like just one camera. Yeah, like that's just a movie at that point. Like, when I see found footage, I don't want to imagine that somebody found this before me and they sat down and they spliced together like 8 different camera footages together to make a movie out of this. I won't feel like I was walking down the street, I found a VHS tape just sitting on the sidewalk, and I brought it back home, popped it into the fictional VCR that I still apparently have in this scenario. And I just watched something. I was like, oh, shit, what is this? And yeah, we only have the one camera throughout all this. It's Pablo's camera the entire time. And because of that, you're seeing stuff that would not have made it to air. And you get that feeling early on because you see Angela doing a couple different takes, kind of like we were doing in the beginning of this. So Angela was doing a couple different takes in the beginning. There's a moment when she starts interviewing the head firefighter there. And she comes up and whispers in Pablo's ear, if this guy's an asshole, just cut. I don't want to waste any film. Like the kind of thing that, man, you wouldn't want your lead reporter person to be caught on camera saying. And I dug that. It made her immediately feel like that is a real, genuine person. Like, yeah, when you're on camera, you got to present. You have to not be yourself. You have to be the thing that sells. You have to be the spokesperson for your channel or your show. That little moment in there, it immediately lets the audience know that is a real, actual person. I really enjoyed that in there. But so she's sitting around going, yeah, I kind of wish that something would happen. It's kind of boring here. Like she's playing basketball with the other firefighters. Nothing's really happening there. And then they get a call. Someone is trapped inside of an apartment building. So she and 2 other firefighters go in there. There's a police officer already in there. And this apartment building, it's kind of small. Like, you get the feeling like every single floor only has one apartment in it. That was one of the things is that I had to keep looking at this like, wait a minute, where does everybody live? And then all of a sudden you realize, yeah, there's only really like 5 families that live inside this building. Yeah,
it's like a 5-story apartment building with like an apartment on each floor, like you said.
Kind of like that, yeah.
So it's a very tiny little
yeah, which is good. It definitely keeps this whole thing feeling contained. We don't need a whole lot of actors in there. We get to know everybody that's involved in this. But they go in there, and they immediately go up and they investigate. There's this old woman living in one of the top floors, and she immediately tries to attack them. She is acting just possessed. Something has come over her. And they lock her in there, and they go back down, and they're asking what's up. But as soon as they get downstairs, people on the outside are locking them inside. And it's their, I don't know the official name of this in Spain, but it's essentially like they're Center for Disease Control people. They're like, okay, there's something in there. We need to quarantine you guys until this is all resolved. And then immediately after that, everyone's freaking out, trying to figure out what's going on. There's this little girl who's sick and her father is outside and he can't get inside. And everybody's trying to figure out what's going on. And then one of the best scares in the entire film happens, and things are just off from there. It lets you know immediately something is going on, something isn't right. People start dying in here. And if you have seen a horror film in your life, you can tell pretty instantly this is a zombie film. And from there, it's the people trapped inside this apartment starting to tensions are rising. They're starting to point fingers at each other. It's a lot of the typical things that you would expect from a zombie film, but when it's being presented through the lens of a reporter, it takes on a lot of different tones to it. Like there's a moment when she's interviewing everybody and she's trying to get everybody's different stories on here. And I dig that you're seeing how people are reacting when they're not on camera. They're always on camera.
Like when they're not putting on a persona.
Exactly. When they're like, okay, things are just happening and the cameraman just happens to be filming, versus when the reporter's like, all right, let's sit down. Let's actually interview you. And that's one of the things that makes this film so good, is that there is definitely a very human aspect to it all. But the main characters that we're following the entire time, it is Angela and it's Pablo, her camera person. And the big thing that goes on with it is, and the big appeal of all this is really the mystery of what is happening, where did all this come from, and it just keeps escalating and escalating. Like they're trying to find ways out, and they're just getting sealed in every time that they look around. Then at one point, one of the people from the Center for Disease Control comes in and starts inspecting things, and again, the found footage aspect really plays into all this, because we don't cut to them and see like what they're saying about all this. We can only see what the camera is showing.
Yeah, like you said, it's just like one camera this whole time.
Exactly. So like when the Center for Disease Control guy takes the police officer and they go like behind doors to investigate something, we don't know what's happening, but we get to watch as the reporter and Pablo try to figure it out, try to like get a camera like snuck in there. And it's great because it really makes you feel like you're in that spot. Like, okay, I should not be watching this. I'm spying on someone doing something, and something questionable is going on there. And why aren't they telling us anything?
Yeah, like a lot of people will be like, stop recording, put the camera down, and they will put it down, but they will not stop recording. So,
which is a trick that I always enjoy in found footage films. it's one of those things that's like, in real life, I don't know how often that would work, but in all honesty, it probably would work more times than you think. And yeah, it's a great way of having people acknowledge that the camera exists while being able to keep the thing going on. And that's something that I'm glad that you brought up. I like the way that everybody reacts around the camera, because, again, in like a regular found footage film, there's always that question of, why the hell are you still filming at a moment like this? Here, it makes sense, because she's a reporter. She wants to capture everything.
Yeah, she's like constantly saying, like, people need to know. We keep recording. This needs to get out. Like,
and nobody outside of like the police officer is really telling her to stop. Like, nobody in the apartment is telling her like, no, stop filming this right now.
Like, they have more important things to worry about.
But also, you get the feeling that they're like, yeah, something's going on in here. Yeah, keep filming this. And I dig the paranoia that comes with this movie. Of nobody here knows what's going on. And I think that the found footage aspect of this really plays into that, because since we're interviewing people, you get the sense of everybody that lives in the apartment. You get the sense of like their own, everyone's personal viewpoint on this. But also like there's moments where you see how the firefighters and the police officers are actually trying to handle all this with this very small contained group of people, and then the camera is no longer in reporter mode. Then it's eye of the what's the word I'm looking for? There's a very specific term for this, but it's like the
first person.
Yeah, we'll go with that. That's not the word I'm looking for, but I can't think of it right now. But yeah, it just puts you, the audience, in there with everybody in the apartment. This is one of those films where, again, it's kind of hard for us to keep going through like plot synopsis and everything in there because everything that goes on in this movie is in like the first half of it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the thing. I really do enjoy this film. I think it's great. I've watched it about like 4 or 5 times now at this point. But there was something about watching it this time that never really occurred to me. And I think it's because all the previous times I watched this, I was so into it. It's like, oh man, this is happening and this is happening. We're going to this and that and this. Watching it this time, something occurred to me. In every zombie film, the last like 10 minutes are when shit goes downhill. Things just like, it's all chaos. We're just running. We're just screaming. We're just in pure survival mode. That's like the second half of this film.
Yeah.
The second half of this film is a lot of running, a lot of yelling, a lot of, oh my God, what is that? What is that? What is that? And it made me go, maybe that's one of the reasons why I like the sequel a little bit more. The sequel, it doesn't do the one camera thing. I'll give it that. But it is, I feel like the pace at which things happen in there is a little bit better simply because the second half of this film, you gotta think, they're all trapped within this apartment building. The moment that people start turning into zombies in here, and again, there's only like 5 families in here. The moment people start turning into zombies, it is off to the races. Like it is, everybody is running and screaming for their lives. Like things escalate so fast in the second half of this film. And I do have to be honest, for anybody out there who is like, man, found footage, there's always just a bunch of people running around and screaming. There's a lot of that in here. If you have that problem with found footage and that bugs you, like if you hate those moments in the Blair Witch Project where they're just going, what is that? What is that? What the hell is that? There's a decent little chunk of that in here. I will have to warn you about. However, I do think of the way that like tension rises in here. I've been using that term a whole lot in here, but yeah, I think that the buildup, the escalation of everything in that first half is amazing. I think that's done incredibly well. I've been talking a lot this entire time. Anything that you want to add in here?
I feel like, what do I want to say?
I hate that I always spring on you when I was like, and now I'm done talking. Your turn. Because I'm such a windbag. I just keep going on and on.
But yeah, it's like, you kind of, like, after the old lady, like, they rescue, quote unquote, you start to realize, oh, shit's about to go down, but you don't realize, like, how it's gonna go down.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it. Like, listen, this is a horror film. We know things aren't going to go well. And the moment you see the old lady, you can pretty much assume this is also a zombie film.
Yeah.
But because they are contained within this one building, it's not like a normal zombie film.
Yeah, that was like pretty much like the big twist of this movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think about Night of the Living Dead. That's all in one location as well. They're all trapped in that house the entire time. But they're trapped in that house from the things that are outside trying to get in.
Yeah, they are stuck inside with the zombies.
Yes.
And they're trying to get out.
And I'm thinking of it right now. I can't think of another zombie film that does that. I think that's great about this. I want to also point out all the individual characters in here because they are characters. You get the feel, like I said, sorry, I am so mush-mouthed today. You watch this film and you really do get a sense of who each person is. It's one of the great things about keeping the amount of people in this apartment building so small.
Mm-hmm.
But every single one of them just has a personality. You definitely get a sense of who they are. Like, there's the little girl who's waiting for medicine from her dad, and she's got a mom there who's very worried about what's going on. That mom, there's a moment in which they are interviewing her, and she just has the perfect freak out expression where she's just talking incredibly fast and just mumbling over every single word that she says and just repeating things over and over again and just talking like that. And it's like, man, you just instantly get the feeling of like, yeah, that is the parent who they are panicking on every level right now. She does so good of a job at that. I love the old couple in there, which unfortunately they just disappear in here. But I love the old couple in here who are just constantly bickering with each other. And like there's the moment in which like the husband is just like, no, you tell them. And then she starts telling them, and then he immediately jumps in, no, that's not it. Yeah, like little stuff like that I thought was done so well. And then of course there's the guy who just wants to be on camera. There's the guy who's dressed incredibly fancy. And there's like a little moment that they capture before they start recording of him being like, oh, which is my best side? And then it cuts to the interview and he is forcing that side onto camera. It's such a good little moment in there. But there's also this Japanese family that is there because there's like a textile shop that's connected to the apartment, which that's one thing that I had a question about. Like, how does that work? I
don't know. Like, but then again, this takes place in Spain, so maybe they have different kind of buildings going on back over there.
I'm not entirely like. Yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like if we walked around to the other side of the apartment, like probably the textile shop would be there. And this is like the back side of it.
I guess so. Like, it's kind of like how there's like a business on like the main floor, and then like there's apartment on
We've got a lot of stuff like that.
Yes, yeah.
That's probably something like that. It's just it was the fact that it was like closed off by a shutter. I was like, that's interesting. Yeah. I've never really seen that. But yeah, so they're like interviewing them, and you get the sense that like you immediately get the sense from the fancy guy that like he is kind of prejudiced against them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I dig the little interactions that everybody has in there. But we mentioned that's all just setup. And I know I've been incredibly like just jumbled with this review because it's like, how much stuff can I talk about before we get into the crazy shit that goes down? Because like I said, the second half of this film, the crazy shit goes down. And it is just running and screaming nonstop from there. And it didn't really work for me as much this time watching it, but I have to repeat, this is like my 5th time watching this film. Mm-hmm. I think it's just because now that I've gotten used to it, I'm now looking at it as like, wow, that's like, I'm no longer quite as in the moment as I was in the previous times. So I think that if you've never seen this film, I think that you're not going to have that problem. But as I said, watching it so many times, I was no longer like on the ride. I was now more of like watching. Okay, there's a difference between being on the roller coaster and being like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah, and then like watching
the footage. Yeah, of people. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's like, yeah, I feel like I'm just watching people run and scream this time. But again, I have to repeat myself. I've seen this thing like 5 times. And the first 4 times I was like, man, that's really scary and intense. I mean, hell, the first time that I saw this film, I remember just my jaw being on the floor of like, oh my God, how crazy can this get? And a lot of that is like thanks to the camera work. And I have to give a lot of credit here. The camera person, whose name is Pablo in the film, his name is Pablo in real life as well.
Oh.
And the reason why is because he's not an actor. He's the director of cinematography. Yeah, which makes sense.
Yes.
If this is a found footage and it's a true found footage, not one of those fake crappy found footages where it's like, okay, it's found footage, but it's because we had like 9 drones that we just happened to be carrying around with like, no, that's a normal movie, you asshole, and you just have shaky cam. Yeah, this is a true found footage. Everything that you are seeing in here is being filmed by the one camera that is being held by the guy acting in the scene. And man, it's one of those things that I've gotten so used to the bad found footages that just fake what found footage is. I had to stop and actually think about the fact that I was like, God damn, that is so unheard of these days. To just have like the actor there holding the camera, and that's the camera that's recording this entire movie. But the cinematography in here, it is still genius. Because there's so many good shots in here. Like, there's a moment in which they come running down the stairs, get into an argument about what's going on. Okay, we got to find this, we got to do this. And then they turn around, and it just reveals someone standing there. And I went, God damn, think about how many times they had to map that out. How choreographed that camera had to be to not record that person moving into this spot there. It's really genius. And there's like a shot there at the end where this whole thing, there's no elevator, it's one big spiral staircase. Mm-hmm. There is a shot at the end of this that makes use of that spiral staircase that I love. It's so good. It's one of the best shots in any zombie film I've ever seen. Yeah. Camera work in here is incredible. And I love how long the shots are. That's another thing about why I think found footage is so effective. It's because long shots. You need those long shots because they make you feel like you are there in that moment. It makes you, like, the longer a shot is, the more immersive it becomes. Mm-hmm. That's why found footage is so immersive. It's one camera and you don't turn it off.
But, like, I like found footage because of, like, the opposite also. Because, like, you know, when you're recording, you'd be like, oh, that's a bad take. Let's do it. And you just, like, cut to the next scene or something like that. And it's like, first off, that feels, like, very real.
Oh, okay.
Secondly, it kind of makes you wonder, like, what happened that made them have to, like, turn off the camera.
That's another thing that is really good in found footage is when they do have to do the cut. And then there's, like, it's not like a normal movie where if it goes from one cut to another, then they show you all the information that you, the audience, needs to know in that time. Found footage is one of the only genres where if you don't have something on screen, it feels real, but the audience is like, all right, what the hell did we just miss? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think stuff like that's genius. This is a totally different film, but Paranormal Activity is one of my favorite examples of that because that thing, it will show Katie and her husband sleeping in bed at night, but it doesn't show you every single night. It will cut the only time in which it shows you stuff there at night is when stuff happens at night. And I always love that in that film because it's like, okay, if it's showing us something here at night, I know something's about to happen and my own tension is rising and I'm getting that feeling of it. Yeah, so found footage, that has nothing to do with Rec. But yeah, it is, when you know how to use found footage, it is its own unique style of filmmaking. But yeah, I do love the long shots in here. Like there was a moment there early on, the shot of like when they first get sealed in, and man, that shot goes on for so long. All I could think was, how many times did you guys probably have to film this? That's incredible. And yeah, there at the end, again, you know there's cheats. You know there are definitely cheats where they like snuck in the modes like that. But I had a hard time catching it. Like there at the end in which they are just running across the apartment, running for their lives. All I could think was like, God damn, there's no way there aren't cheats in here, but it's hard to find them. Also, I will say this again. I mentioned the end of this film, it's pretty much just people running and screaming for like 30 minutes. I do have to come back around to the fact that the main character, Angela, not an actress. She's an actual reporter. So that's impressive. It is not easy to fake scream. I was really kind of stunned when I learned that, oh, she's not even an actress. And I wouldn't have known. She's acting the hell out of this scene. So I really enjoy this film. I think that is one of the best examples of a found footage film. It knows how to use that genre. It knows what makes that genre strong. It's an incredible zombie film, too, because this is not a saying that we normally get. You get really attached to all the characters in here. Every single one of them is distinct. The way that the tension slowly builds up is paced incredibly well. I just kind of, this time watching it for the fifth time, I have to come back around to that. Watching it for the fifth time, I do think that the last half hour is like, oh, God damn, we are just running and screaming a whole lot in here. It is kind of like, okay, it wasn't as effective for me this time around.
Yeah, but like, when you think about the situation there, it's like, what else can you really do?
In a weird way, I almost have to applaud them still for that. The fact that, again, most zombie films, this is the last 10 minutes of it, and with this one, it's like the last 30 minutes, and I just have to be like, damn, it's kind of impressive that they kept it going for that long. They were able to do that. They were able to have people just running up and down stairs screaming for that long, and still it's engaging. It still kept me in there. So yeah, I gotta give them credit that they were able to figure out how to do that. Yeah, and this is also one of those ones where, man, it's a found footage film, so it's gonna be a big bummer. There's no found footage film in which it ends with them like, good. Now to just throw this footage away for no reason at all, even though everything's all right. Like, you know it's going to be bad. And where it goes at the very end, man, that is incredibly bold for them to do. That was a direction that I don't think anybody saw coming. Not gonna spoil it, but it's also one of the reasons I like Rec 2 better. There is a fairly decent surprise of where they go at the very end of this film. Rec 2 is all about that surprise, and man, I loved it. But yeah, actually talking about this one, we should probably give our ratings. It's weird after doing a week of Universal Monsters where we gave no ratings because it was like, yeah, it's Universal Monsters. Like you all, I'm sorry, you want me to rate Dracula? It's Dracula out of 10. I feel like the first time I saw this, I would have given it a 9 out of 10. Watching it this time, I would give it an 8 because some of it wasn't as effective. So I'm going to even it out to an 8.5.
All right. I did not watch it as much as you, so I guess I'm like kind of still on that roller coaster, as you would say. So I would give it a 9.
Okay, that's again, it's if you have not seen this, I do think this is a 9 out of 10. But the only reason I'm bringing this up is because there's a lot of other horror films I have watched time and time and time again. They still stick with me and they still work. Like I will watch John Carpenter's The Thing all day, Evil Dead. I'll watch that any day of the week. This one, I have now come to realize I don't think this will be one of those ones that I can watch over and over and over again, but I would still call it a classic. But yeah, we should probably get into the spoiler stuff now. Again, very weird after doing the week of Universal Monsters to now do spoiler stuff again. So this is one of the reasons why it was so hard actually reviewing this film is that I was like, okay, people start dying and get infected pretty quick in here. We can't talk about any of that. I will say that scare that I talked about early on of the guy falling and just smacking into the ground, that's incredible. And again, that's a practical effect. This, again, when they're turning the camera around and stuff, there's no like special effects in here. That was an actual dummy that they threw down the stairs. And I know that one time the dummy got caught on the stairs, so it just kind of like just hung over the rafters. But I keep thinking, it's like, man, how many times did you have to toss that thing to make sure it landed face down?
Yeah.
That's incredible. And the thing that came so long into that take, because that's still all one take. So just think about how they had to probably do that entire take over and over, just constantly screaming, everybody just shuffling around, and then, God, just pray that dummy lands correctly. So yeah, need to point that out. But as this goes on, they discover the little girl is sick, waiting for her dad to come back with medicine. You all know what's going to happen. That doesn't even feel like a spoiler. Yeah. But I love that when the little girl gets infected, the mom puts her down because the kid just sprays blood all over her face, and then she gets down.
Does she spray blood, or does she like bite her?
No, she sprays her. Yeah, she like spits on her face.
Okay, yeah, because I guess when you're trying to direct little kids, it'd be kind of weird for them to like tell them to bite their mom. Yeah,
it's definitely not. Although I will say that kid, the freak out that she has is kind of hilarious to me. Because the mom puts her down after getting blood in her face, and then the kid just runs over and just, and it just feels like a little kid who's just mad at everyone and just yelling at them and then runs up to their room. It's like, I know I should be scared right now, but it's kind of funny to me. But after that point, it's just off. Like, at that point, people just start getting bit. They start getting affected. There's 2 guys that were locked up inside, and then they get out. And, man, they had to handcuff the mom to the rafters because she was acting hysterical. That is one of the best setups for a zombie death I have ever seen. She gets handcuffed down there, and she can't leave. And then all of a sudden, the zombies start trying to break in through the big, metal shutter door. And then the moment that they get in, the mom's just like, wait, hold on, me? I'm still here. Man, you felt so bad. She's just being served up on a platter for them at that point.
It's like, I think, like, the big question isn't exactly what's going on, but like, how did this all start?
Yes, which that gets explored at the very end of this, and it is not what you think. We should probably just go ahead and jump right to that, because other than that, it's just me going like, this person dies, this person dies, this person dies. Everybody dies. We all know everybody dies. Get to the very end. It's Pablo and Angela up there in this room, and I should point out, at one point, Pablo is filming them with the light on the camera on, but then that light gets taken out, and so he's filming them with the night vision.
Yeah.
And I should point this out. This is a fun little fact. That was not a special effect. They were actually in pure darkness there acting, and that was actually the night vision on that camera recording that.
Oh, cool.
So when you see Angela, like, looking around, like, trying to find something, she's actually doing that. She can't see squat at that moment. But they get up there, they're in the
abandoned penthouse.
Yes, they're in a penthouse where it's called abandoned, but it's like, well, the guy lived there, but he hasn't been by in like 5 months.
Yeah, like basically, like, yeah.
Yeah, he's been gone for a while. And there's all these newspaper clippings on there about a possessed girl and exorcisms and stuff like that. And they find like a tape recorder and just going into details about the girl, and like, it's very ominous stuff. You don't really get a sense of like what the hell he's talking about. It's very confusing, which I would say this is one of the things that, again, this time around, when I knew everything that was coming, it was a little bit more annoying to me because Angela was just screaming out, "What's this? What is this? What?" And it's like, that's natural. Mm-hmm. I understand she's having the freak out because it's been an evening. She has been through a lot. But in my mind, I was doing that thing that, like, you know, the asshole audience member did. I was like, oh, well, maybe if you looked and actually tried to find all this out, maybe just listen for a little bit. But I was like, no, I understand. If you're in that situation, you're going to be panicking like crazy. Like, the entire apartment is full of zombies and the government is not letting you escape. Yeah. And now all of a sudden you found stuff about exorcisms and demons up there. And that is the big twist. This isn't zombies. It's a demonic plague. And yeah, it's like just a possession that's going around. And I mentioned that I like the sequel more. It's because the sequel is nothing but that. The sequel is 100% the demon, like, they're like, no, we now know this is demons. So it eventually, I've described this many times. Rec 2 to me is the best Resident Evil movie of all time. Because it's like specially trained soldiers going into like this big apartment building, having to go around. They find like clues everywhere. Like they literally found this Dear Diary, Today I Became a Zombie entry. But that's talking about another film. So yeah, this film, it's crazy where it goes at the end of this. And I am honestly like just still to this day shocked that somebody was like, you know what, how do we make zombies different? How do we just go for it in the last 5 minutes of the movie? And that's the thing. When I describe it like that, it shouldn't work. I think it does. I don't know how you feel about the big twist at the end.
No, I do like it.
Okay. Yeah, and then you get the big reveal of the final monster in there, and it's genuinely creepy. Yeah. And of course you have it's the final shot of the film, but it's the shot that they use to advertise the movie, so everybody knows it's coming. It's the shot of her with like the night vision on, where she's like grabbing,
like she's being dragged across the floor.
She's being dragged into the darkness, and it's like, yeah, that's the shot that they used in every single trailer for this thing. But how can you not? It's really good. Also, that's the kind of shot that, yeah, if you saw it in a trailer, you'd be like, well, I'm sure she's fine after that. Otherwise, they wouldn't put it in the trailer. So it kind of, by spoiling it, you kind of didn't spoil it. It's weird. But yeah, I think this movie is great. I agree with everybody who has been praising it for generations now. I think this is it already has gone down in history as one of the best found footage films. I think it's going to remain one of the best found footage films ever. But there you go. That is day 1 of International Horror Week. Tomorrow, we're going into a film that I, once again, have already seen, but you have never seen it before. Yeah. So this will be interesting. Tomorrow, we're going to France, and we're going to be talking about high tension, or hot tension, as it is known in France. Probably actually not known as that. I probably mispronounced it horribly. Can you tell this was our first review of the day, and we're both very out of practice. So come back for tomorrow's episode, where we'll be a little bit more warmed up. See you then, everybody.
Bye.